The night before my grandmother's 80th birthday, my aunt called me and said something I will never forget. "You are not welcome at the party tomorrow." I laughed because I thought she was joking. She wasn't. Then she said, "Grandma doesn't want you there." I asked her why. She paused for a few seconds. Then she whispered, "Because she finally knows what you did." I had no idea what she was talking about. I hadn't done anything. But the next afternoon, when I secretly went to the birthday celebration anyway, my entire family was waiting for me, and my aunt was standing beside my grandmother holding an old wooden box. She looked at me and said, "Since you decided to come anyway, maybe you should explain yourself." Everyone turned toward me. My cousins, my uncles, my mother, even my grandmother. I felt completely humiliated. Until Grandma slowly stood up. She looked at my aunt. Then she looked at me, and she said, "Give me that box." My aunt's face went white. Because she knew something I didn't. That box contained a letter Grandma had written 20 years earlier, and she had specifically instructed that it should never be opened until her 80th birthday. My name was written on the envelope. My name is Claire Bennett, and that is how the biggest family argument of my life began. I grew up in a family where everyone knew everyone else's business. There were no secrets. At least that's what I believed. My grandmother Eleanor was the center of our family. Everyone called her Grandma Ellie. She lived in a small yellow house at the end of Maple Street. It wasn't a fancy house. The kitchen was tiny. The living room furniture was old. The curtains had been there longer than I had been alive. But whenever we walked through that front door, it felt like home. Grandma had 6 grandchildren. I was the oldest girl. My cousin Melissa was the oldest grandchild overall. She was only a year older than me. Growing up, Melissa and I were inseparable. We rode bikes together. We went to summer camp together. We even shared a bedroom whenever the family took vacations. But there was one difference between us. Melissa loved being the center of attention. I didn't. She enjoyed organizing family events. I preferred helping quietly in the background. She wanted everyone to notice what she had done. I was happy if everything simply went well. That difference didn't matter when we were children. It became important when we grew older. My Aunt Patricia was Melissa's mother. She was my mother's younger sister. And Patricia had always been extremely proud of Melissa. Sometimes too proud. Whenever Melissa accomplished something, Patricia told everyone. When Melissa graduated college, Patricia rented a ballroom. When Melissa got promoted, Patricia hosted a dinner. When Melissa bought her first house, Patricia sent photographs to every relative. Nobody minded. At least I didn't. I loved Melissa. But things changed after Grandma turned 75. She began spending more time with me. Not because she loved me more, because I lived closer. I would stop by after work. I'd bring groceries. Sometimes I'd cook. Sometimes we'd sit on the porch and talk for hours. Grandma would tell me stories about her childhood. Stories about my grandfather. Stories about raising her children. Stories about my mother and Patricia when they were young. I loved those conversations, but Patricia didn't. One afternoon she called me. "Claire, can you come over?" "Sure, what's wrong?" "I need to talk to you." I drove to her house. She opened the door with a strange expression. "What's going on?" She crossed her arms. "You've been spending a lot of time with Mom." I smiled. "Yes." "Why?" I thought she was joking. "Because she's my grandmother." "This isn't funny." I stared at her. "What are you talking about?" "You know exactly what I'm talking about." "No, I don't." She sighed. "Mom has been telling people that you're the only grandchild who really understands her." I shook my head. "I never said that." "You don't have to say it. I don't know what you want me to do. Stop making everything about you." I was stunned. "I haven't done anything." She walked away. That was the first time I realized something had changed. After that, Patricia became distant. She stopped inviting me to certain family dinners. She started organizing events without telling me. And whenever I arrived at Grandma's house, she would somehow appear within minutes. At first, I ignored it. Then Grandma's 80th birthday approached. It was supposed to be the biggest family celebration we had ever had. Patricia took charge. She booked a banquet hall. She ordered flowers. She hired a photographer. She created a guest list. And she told everyone that Grandma deserved the most beautiful birthday possible. I was happy for her. Until the night before the party. That was when she called me. "You are not welcome tomorrow." I thought I'd misheard her. "What?" "Don't come." "Why?" Because Mom doesn't want you there. I laughed nervously. Patricia, stop. I am serious. Why would Grandma not want me there? Because she's disappointed in you. For what? Silence. Then she said, You know what you did. I didn't, but she hung up before I could ask anything else. I called Grandma. No answer. I called my mother. She didn't answer either. I spent that entire night wondering what could possibly have happened. Then at 10:30 the next morning, I received a text from Melissa. Please don't come today. I replied, What's going on? She didn't answer. That hurt more than Patricia's call. Melissa was my cousin, my childhood best friend, and now she was telling me to stay away. I almost listened. Then I remembered Grandma. I couldn't imagine spending her 80th birthday alone because someone had decided I wasn't worthy of being there. So I went. I arrived 40 minutes late. The banquet hall was beautiful. White flowers, golden balloons, photographs of Grandma throughout her life. There were more than 100 people. The moment I walked in, the room became strangely quiet. I saw my mother. She looked away. I saw Melissa. She looked nervous. And then I saw Patricia. She walked toward me. I told you not to come. I came to see Grandma. You're embarrassing yourself. I haven't done anything. She pointed toward the exit. Leave. Before I could respond, Grandma appeared. She was sitting in a wheelchair. She looked older than she had the previous week, but her eyes were sharp. She looked at me. Claire. I smiled. Happy birthday, Grandma. She held out her arms. I walked over and hugged her. She whispered, I was wondering when you'd arrive. I pulled back. What? She smiled. Your aunt told you not to come, didn't she? I looked at Patricia. Grandma laughed. She has been trying to control this party for 3 months. Patricia stepped forward. Mom, please. Grandma looked at her. Not now. Then she noticed the wooden box Patricia was holding. Her expression changed. Where did you get that? Patricia froze. You gave it to me. I told you to keep it safe. I did. Grandma held out her hand. Give it to me. Patricia didn't move. Grandma's voice became stronger. Patricia. Slowly, Patricia handed her the box. Grandma opened it. Inside was an old envelope. My name was written on it, Claire Bennett. I stared at it. What is that? Grandma looked at me. Something I wrote a long time ago. Patricia interrupted. Mom, you don't need to do this. Grandma looked at her. Yes, I do. She handed the envelope to me. Read it. My hands were shaking. I opened it. The letter began, Dear Claire, if you are reading this, you are probably confused. I looked up. Everyone was watching me. I continued, You may be wondering why your aunt has spent so much time trying to keep you away from me. My heart started pounding. Patricia whispered, Mom, stop. Grandma said, Let her read. I continued, I want you to know that none of this is your fault. I looked at Patricia. She was crying. The letter continued. 20 years ago, something happened in this family that changed your aunt. I stopped. 20 years ago? I was 17. Melissa was 18. I looked at Grandma. What happened? She whispered, Keep reading. I did. Your aunt believes that I chose your mother over her. I looked at my mother. She covered her mouth. But that isn't what happened. I continued. There was a time when your mother and Patricia were not speaking. You were old enough to remember some of it, but you never knew the reason. I did remember. My mother and Patricia had stopped talking when I was 16. Everyone said it was a disagreement. I never knew what it was about. The letter continued. Your aunt believes your mother betrayed her. Patricia suddenly said, She did. Grandma looked at her. Let Claire finish. I continued. But the truth is that Patricia betrayed herself. The room became silent. She made a choice because she wanted something she believed your mother had. I looked at Mom. What? She began crying. Grandma said, Keep reading. The letter explained that 20 years earlier, Grandma had decided to sell her small bakery. My grandfather had died. The bakery had become too difficult to manage. My mother wanted to help. Patricia wanted to buy it. That didn't sound unusual. But then I read the next part. Patricia didn't want the bakery because she loved baking. She wanted it because she wanted to prove she could become the most successful person in the family. Patricia shook her head. That isn't true. Grandma looked at her. It is. The letter continued. Your mother tried to convince me to give Patricia a chance. But Patricia made a decision that hurt someone else. I looked at my mother. What did she do? Mom whispered. She took something. What? Grandma answered. Your grandfather's recipe book. I was confused. That's it? Patricia laughed bitterly. You don't understand. Grandma said. Let her explain. The recipe book wasn't just a cookbook. It contained handwritten recipes passed down through 4 generations. My grandfather had spent 40 years writing notes beside them. It was the one thing Grandma had kept after selling the bakery. Patricia had taken it. Why? Because she believed the recipes belonged to the bakery. She wanted to use them to open her own business. My mother discovered what she had done. She confronted her. Patricia denied it. Then she accused my mother of stealing money from the bakery. The family split. My mother stopped speaking to Patricia. And eventually the recipe book disappeared. I looked at Patricia. Where is it? She said nothing. Grandma answered. She still has it. I couldn't believe it. After 20 years? Patricia looked at the floor. I was going to return it. Grandma laughed sadly. You've had 20 years. Patricia started crying. I was ashamed. Then why did you keep it? I don't know. Grandma looked at me. That was only the beginning. I turned back to the letter. The next paragraph was even more surprising. After the bakery closed, Patricia told everyone that your mother had stolen her opportunity. I looked at Mom. She nodded. She told people I ruined her life. I couldn't believe it. Why? Because she had already decided I was her enemy. The letter continued. Your aunt spent years believing that your mother had taken everything from her. Then came a sentence that made me stop. And eventually, she began comparing herself to you. I looked at Patricia. Me? She didn't answer. Grandma continued. Yes. The letter explained that Patricia had watched me grow up. She saw how close I was to Grandma. She saw how often I visited. And over time, she became convinced that Grandma preferred me. She believed I had inherited the place in the family that should have belonged to Melissa. That was why she had been trying to keep me away. Not because I had done something wrong. Because my existence reminded her of everything she believed she had lost. I looked at Melissa. She was crying. I walked toward her. Did you believe what your mother said? She shook her head. I didn't know what to believe. Why didn't you talk to me? Because Mom told me Grandma had written you out of her will. I stared at her. What? Melissa looked embarrassed. She said Grandma had decided you were taking advantage of her. I looked at Grandma. She shook her head. I never said that. Patricia suddenly stood. You don't understand what it was like. Everyone turned. She was crying. I watched Mom love Claire the way she used to love my sister. Mom stepped forward. I never took your place. You didn't have to, Patricia shouted. You always got everything. Mom looked shocked. What did I get? You got Mom's attention. You could have had it too. No. Patricia wiped her tears. Because I wasn't the good daughter. Grandma's voice softened. Patricia, you were always proud of her. I was proud of you too. No, you weren't. Grandma looked heartbroken. You decided that long before I ever gave you a reason. Patricia sat down. The room became quiet. Then Grandma said something nobody expected. I didn't bring everyone here today to punish Patricia. She looked at me. I brought you here because I wanted the truth finally told. She turned to my mother. And because I am tired of watching my daughters lose years they can never get back. My mother began crying. She walked toward Patricia. I never wanted to lose you. Patricia looked up. You stopped talking to me because you accused me of something I didn't do. I know. Then why didn't you apologize? Patricia whispered. Because I was embarrassed. My mother sat beside her. For the first time in 20 years, they held hands. I watched them. And I realized something. The villain in our family wasn't some stranger. It was resentment. Resentment that had been allowed to grow for 20 years. But there was still one question. The recipe book. Grandma looked at Patricia. Where is it? Patricia wiped her face. At home. Why didn't you return it? I was afraid. Of what? That you'd hate me. Grandma smiled sadly. I have spent 20 years waiting for you to return it. Patricia looked shocked. You knew? I always knew. How? Your father knew where you kept it. Patricia covered her face. I almost laughed. For 20 years, everyone had been living inside a family drama that could have ended with one honest conversation, but pride had kept it alive. The party continued. Not like a birthday party. It became something else. A family meeting. People began telling stories. My mother talked about growing up with Patricia. Patricia admitted things she'd never said before. Melissa apologized to me. I apologized to her for not asking what was wrong. And Grandma sat in the middle of everyone, listening. Then she asked me to come outside. We sat on a bench behind the hall. She handed me the wooden box. Keep it. I looked at her. Why? Because one day you're going to understand something. What? Families don't fall apart because people make mistakes. I waited. They fall apart because people refuse to talk about them. I looked at the box. Why did you wait until your 80th birthday? She smiled. Because I wanted enough life behind me to know what was worth carrying forward. I started crying. I thought you were going to leave me something. I am. What? The truth? I hugged her. She whispered, You don't need a house. You don't need money. You need to know where your family came from. I held her tighter. Then she said, And you need to make sure the next generation doesn't inherit our mistakes. That sentence stayed with me. The next morning, Patricia came to my house. She was holding an old cardboard box. I found it. I knew immediately. The recipe book. She handed it to me. I opened it. The pages were yellow. There were handwritten notes. Coffee stains. Little drawings in the margins. And photographs. My grandfather had written something on the first page. Food tastes better when nobody is keeping score. I laughed. Patricia started crying. I stole this because I thought I needed something that proved I belonged. I closed the book. You belonged without it. She nodded. I know. Then she said something I never expected. I owe your mother 20 years. I shook my head. You owe her an apology. She nodded. I know. She left. I called Mom. Come over. She did. When she saw the recipe book, she cried. She ran her fingers across the cover. I thought I'd never see this again. I handed it to her. You should keep it. She shook her head. No. She pushed it back. Keep it. Why? Because Grandma wanted you to have it. I smiled. What am I supposed to do with it? Cook. We laughed. And that weekend, something happened that I never thought I'd see. The entire family gathered at Grandma's house. No banquet hall. No expensive decorations. Just us. We cooked. We argued over recipes. We burned the bread. Grandma laughed at us. Patricia and Mom stood beside each other in the kitchen. Melissa chopped vegetables. I read recipes from the old book. And for the first time in 20 years, nobody was trying to prove who was better. Nobody was keeping score. Nobody was competing for Grandma's attention. We were simply a family. 3 months later, Grandma asked me to visit her alone. She was sitting on the porch. I have something else to tell you. I smiled. Another secret. She laughed. No. She handed me a small photograph. It was my mother and Patricia when they were teenagers. They were sitting on the same porch, laughing, holding a cake. I looked at it. I've never seen this. Grandma smiled. They were best friends. Really? Before they became sisters. I looked at her. What do you mean? She explained. Before they became rivals, my mother and Patricia had been inseparable. They shared clothes. They shared dreams. They even wanted to open a bakery together. The dream had been destroyed by competition. Not money, not jealousy alone. The need to prove who was more important. I looked at the photograph again. Why are you telling me this? Because I don't want you and Melissa to repeat it. I smiled. Melissa and I aren't like them. Grandma raised an eyebrow. Every generation thinks that. I laughed. Then she became serious. Be careful. Of what? Of comparing yourself. To Melissa? To anyone. She squeezed my hand. The moment you start measuring your life against someone else's, you stop enjoying your own. I never forgot that. Grandma passed away 2 years later. She was surrounded by family. My mother was holding her hand. Patricia was sitting on the other side. Melissa was at the foot of the bed. And I was reading from the old recipe book. Not because the recipes mattered anymore. Because the words my grandfather had written on the first page mattered. Food tastes better when nobody is keeping score. After Grandma died, we kept the family tradition alive. Every year on her birthday, we gathered at the Yellow House. We cooked. We told stories. We argued. We laughed. And we made sure nobody sat alone. The recipe book became our family tradition. Everyone added something. A recipe. A photograph. A story. A handwritten note. Years later, Melissa added a page. It said, "For Grandma Ellie, who taught us that love isn't something you win." My mother added another. "For my sister, who I lost for 20 years and found again." Patricia added, "For the daughter I was too proud to be." And I added the final one. "For the family I thought was broken," until I realized it was simply waiting for us to stop keeping score. I still think about that birthday sometimes. The day my aunt tried to keep me away. The day I thought my family had turned against me. The day I discovered a 20-year-old argument. And the day I learned that sometimes people hurt you not because they hate you, but because they have spent too long believing they aren't loved. That doesn't make their behavior right. Patricia still had to take responsibility. She had to apologize. She had to rebuild trust. And some wounds didn't disappear overnight. But she changed. And so did we. I also learned something about my grandmother. She could have spent her final years blaming Patricia. Instead, she spent them trying to bring her daughters back together. She didn't pretend the past didn't happen. She simply refused to let the past decide the future. And maybe that's what family really means? Not perfection, not agreement, not always getting along. Family means having enough courage to say, "I was wrong." It means being able to say, "You hurt me," and eventually being brave enough to say, "I still love you." I used to think my aunt was the villain in our family story. For a while, I was sure she was. She lied to people. She tried to isolate me from Grandma. She manipulated Melissa. She carried resentment for 20 years. None of that was okay. But now when I think about her, I don't see a villain. I see a woman who spent too much of her life believing she wasn't enough. And instead of asking for love, she tried to compete for it. That's a lesson I carry with me. Because it is easy to look at someone else's behavior and decide they're simply bad. Sometimes the truth is more complicated. Sometimes hurt people hurt people. Sometimes proud people destroy relationships because they are too afraid to admit they're scared. And sometimes one honest conversation can save years of regret. I wish my family had learned that earlier, but I'm grateful we learned it before it was too late. Today, the Yellow House still stands at the end of Maple Street. The curtains are different. The furniture has changed. The porch has been repaired. But every year on Grandma's birthday, we gather there. We bring food. We bring photographs. We bring our children. And we open the old recipe book. The pages are getting weaker now. So I keep it in a protective box. The same wooden box Grandma gave me. Sometimes I open it just to read the first page. Food tastes better when nobody is keeping score. But I think those words were never really about food. They were about us. About my mother. About Patricia. About Melissa. About me. About every family that has ever compared one child to another. Every family that has ever kept an old argument alive. Every family that has ever mistaken competition for love. Because love isn't a prize. You don't have to earn more love than your sister. You don't have to be the favorite daughter. You don't have to be the successful cousin. You don't have to prove that you're better. There is enough love for everyone. You just have to stop keeping score. My name is Claire Bennett. I went to my grandmother's 80th birthday expecting to celebrate her. Instead, I discovered a family secret that had been buried for 20 years. I learned why my aunt hated seeing me close to Grandma. I learned why my mother and aunt had stopped speaking. I learned about a missing recipe book that had become a symbol of resentment. And I watched two sisters finally admit that they had spent 20 years fighting over something neither of them could win. Love. My aunt once told me I wasn't welcome at Grandma's birthday. But in the end, that birthday became the moment our family finally came back together. And if Grandma had taught me anything, it was this. You can inherit a house. You can inherit recipes. You can inherit photographs. But the most important thing a family can inherit is the courage to tell the truth before resentment becomes tradition. And that's what we finally did. We stopped keeping score. And we started being a family again.